Viewers and subscribers, so welcome back again on this platform where we tell you undiluted truth. Soludo had taken over the pulpit from the Lord Bishops during an Anglican retreat where he highlighted so many things I needed to address. But first, let us listen to him. I'll be right back.
Finally, to your retreat. I'm very excited that you are having this retreat. I missed a chunk of the sermon, but I want to believe, for me, for my own government, we're starting our own retreat on Monday. Monday, Tuesday, we'll be at a retreat. And that's the way to begin a new year, where you're reviewing where are we coming from, redefine, remind yourselves of your purpose, your mission, your vision, and your KPIs, your key performance indicators. And how do you measure? Where are you and where do you want to go? We want to remind ourselves as we start off the new year. For the primate, you mentioned a very important statistics, which is 20 million registered Anglicans. It's the same way that you have 2.6, 2.7 billion people in the world who profess Christianity, which is about 32-33% of humanity. And here in Nigeria, you have, well, depending on the number, people dispute whether you are 100 and something or thereabout in terms of Christians. But an important question that I will leave with you is that as you ponder these 20 million, that's those on the register, are they still there? It might sound a rhetorical question, isn't it? 20 million on the register, how many are there? And in the Southeast, this question is even much more pertinent. Because in the Southeast particularly, the fastest growing religion today is idolatry. It's on the upsurge, massive ascendancy, and those populating it are the Christians, the Emmanuel, Christian, so even some of them answer Christian, but he's carrying his shrine, and so on. All over the bushes and forests, wherever these chaps are, the first thing they do is to have a massive shrine. Now in every community, in Anambra, in Abia, in Imo, in Enugu, in Ebonyi, and so on. Every community now, there is a massive resurgence. In other words, since this is a moment of retreat, that the leadership of the Church of Nigeria must pose that kind of question. It's a time for introspection. A life unexamined is not worth living. At some point, you must be able to re-examine your purpose. Are we still serving the purpose? Have our ways become in conflict with the purpose? Or do we have a defined purpose, but our means of getting there now in conflict and in contradistinction, that the people themselves see through it and they think this is all a joke and they are living? Somebody says, people are saying the church and so on, religion has become business. The transactions have overwhelmed the transformations. Does the church still engage in evangelization? And so now in my own government, we'll be dealing with KPIs for each MDA, the ministries, departments, and agencies. What are the key performance indicators that the leadership of the church provides for the ministers of the church? In each parish, What are the KPIs? Is it the number of brick and mortar projects that are built? Or is it in terms of how many members who actually are on the register are still with you? How many persons who are non-Christians have been converted over the previous 1 year? Can we have it in the register as part of the KPIs for each parish? How many have left? Because, Your Grace, there is something dangerous that is upon us. The greatest threat that we face, I heard when the prayer was made about the release of our Archbishop, retired Archbishop, who was in captivity for a few weeks. In 2009, my 78-year-old father was kidnapped. After dinner, I went to his house in the village here. Before then, that same year, Tony Mas, the popular Tony Mas, was kidnapped. I think the next year, Poco Bros, and then GUO was kidnapped, I think from here, from a church. This trend has continued. And if you look at the characteristics of the people doing this, now it's become an organized, lucrative business empire with central command and control, and at the heart of it all is idolatry. At the heart of it all is idolatry. The church itself as an institution, when you now get to the place, we've now gotten to a position where these guys don't care about anybody, whether you are primate, whether you are pope, or whether you are bishop, whether you are, because there is a clash of religion. They think you are the problem. The church is the problem, is the only institution standing between them and taking over the entire society. And I leave a message with you. When they were coming, they started off with a narrative in the southeast. We are here to liberate you. The Fulanis are in the forests and everywhere about to envelop you. They will go to the checkpoints, kill the police, kill the soldiers, take over their AK-47, and people will tacitly inside be happy because they are the liberators. They are supposed to be the liberators. Now, after they carry the AK-47, how do they feed the next day in the bush? Nobody asked that question. How do they continue to feed month to month, year to year? They have to feed. They have to survive. They have families. Now they come out to grab people because for ransom. And at the heart of it all is that the first thing they have there is their big idols, big shrines. Over the last 2 years or so that we've declared war on this, before I came, 8 local governments were under their total grip. We declared war on them. The number of shrines that we have had to burn down or bring down. And yesterday we had about 10.5 hours meeting. We're bringing out a new Homeland Security law. I want to assure you, the primate and bishops of Church of Nigeria, that the way we want to fight this war, it's not just carrying gun and so on and going to, for me, it's just 40% of the problem. The 60% is that if we don't collectively challenge and tackle the source of the warped ideology, the ideas that fuel this in the first instance, that continues to enable them to have continuous supply of young men going into the bush and wanting to carry arms to go on a kidnapping, and so on and so forth, because it is now the most lucrative business in town. Nigeria published data that about 2.4 trillion was paid as ransom. Did you see that? For every 1 naira published, we estimate that at least 5 naira was not reported. So if you multiply that by 5, you'll be getting more than at least more than 10 trillion. Even oil block is not as lucrative. But there is something also fueling it. And this is where the church also comes in. When I ask why do they leave? The lucrative criminality, but also we now have a society where we celebrate something for nothing. Where even in Christianity, we now preach that you can have a crown without a cross. We tell people that you can have wealth without work. That God is a money doubler. Only pay your tithe and then you go and close yourself with blanket. God will quadruple it in 10 times. We're no longer telling people about responsible Christianity. No, it is the hard one. If we tell them no cross, no crown, then you will not be the popular priest. It's when you tell them, a young apprentice, you will become a billionaire by the end of it. You say, yeah, I claim it. How? How? So the message, I'm just saying this because we are coming from various, and in fact, part of where we are going to head to, all these roadside pastors and churches and so on, preaching all of these things and trying to, have people with this warped theology and Christianity and so on. This one and the other one. It's just the youths. 9 a.m. people are in the beer parlors drinking beer. But they expect to build a skyscraper tomorrow. How? We want to hold people accountable. If you got wealth, people are displaying all manner of obscene wealth. And nobody asks again, what do you do for a living? A society where you no longer ask people, what do you do for a living? It's a society that has no future. But again, what I said to you as the leaders of the church, I wish I am not governor. I would have taken this almost like as a personal crusade. Because as you point one finger, you look back and you see the others pointing at you. I said, in about 2012, I addressed the Catholic Bishops' Conference. And I did make a suggestion. And everybody laughed. I said, in the Catholic Church, we have this prayer against bribery and corruption. We pray it almost every alternate Sunday. The other one is prayer against for Nigeria in distress. I said, okay, now you have got the third liturgy. And this applies to all our Christian denominations. We used to have 4 parts of a mass. It's introductory rite, liturgy of the word, liturgy of the Eucharist, and then concluding rites. Those are the 4 parts. I said, you now have the third liturgy, liturgy of fundraising. Okay? Now, and that becomes the main part of most services. The part where we talk about money. And I said, can we be the church that then says, okay, we'll pray against bribery and corruption. Then an officer, a government official, whose total monthly salary is not more than 200,000, comes to the church and makes a donation of 2 million. Or he shows up in church, whoever is presiding announces, now that we have this one has come, it means our problems are over. That was the day they are going to do special fundraising. and he comes and pledges 2 million, I will say kneel down for special prayers. How is he going to get the 2 million? That's where it starts. And I did make a proposal. I then said, can we then lead by saying, okay, let's make a rule. If you are in public office, we're not going to accept any donation from you until you leave office. And 5 years after you've left office, everybody laughed. More like, how now? It sounds like a joke, but go to think about it. Today, during this season in the southeast, bazaar all over the place. Who are the chairmen of the bazaars? This one has come down. So IK Malaysia. Peter of South. This one. What do they do? Even the ministers of God do not ask. In my part of the world, we have a proverb that he who partakes of the proceed of theft is also a thief. But we can no longer pretend and be saying, no, we don't know, we don't care. No, the society must care. Because this is at the foundation of the criminality that is ongoing. We celebrate wealth without work. And if the church continues to celebrate this, a society gets what it celebrates. And therefore, I'm only just throwing up something, Your Grace, that at your retreat, because this thing, I feel so passionate about it. We're going out where we are going after all this Okite and Akwa Okoko and Ezenwanye and all of those. It's everywhere now. Just come, we'll give you this, you'll get money. We're not teaching people to work. How much do we do that? We launched asking people farm to feed. There was a time Nigeria was, they said they were having a hunger protest, that we are hungry. And we said, no, we can't. We must teach our people. We met with our youth and launched farm to feed. Akajaja, nebuto. That's how what we are stand in this part of the world. So please, while we go onto this retreat, since we are going onto retreat, that's why I'm raising these issues, that there are deeper existential threats. Deeper existential threats to the society itself, because we have put our values on upside down. And the church, as the last man standing, must not be seen to flow in that direction. Otherwise, there is no redemption.
Good. Now, let us take them one after the other. To start with, Soludo, what he said, I can agree with him to a large extent. But avoiding the real truth is where I want to drag him out and address it. You made mention of the church leading in the, WAP ideology that is fueling insecurity by saying that the church is preaching prosperity as against diligence and, work and pay. Now, that is not actually the entire problem. You are just crashing it. The issue of the church and why some of these people, yes, are running away from the church and embracing idolatry, looking up to the church as the problem of the society, is because the church has become a capitalist establishment. Yes, the church has moved away from rendering service to humanity to becoming a capitalist establishment where schools owned by the church cannot be attended by church members. The church will build Janjati University, Janjati Secondary School, and Primary School, that only those who had so much money will be able to take their children there. Check it. In Anambra State alone, including the very particular Reverend Father that is under the loggerhead with Soludo's people concerning insecurity. I'm talking about a baby monster. You know, people will like to embrace the truth that correspond with what we want, and reject the truth that is also pinching us. Soludo is trying to avoid the actual truth, telling these people the actual truth, and that is as a result of the failure of the government, because they could not, set a standard for quality education that will bridge the gap of the haves and the have-nots in the society. Since the public schools has failed, everybody is now pushing for private schools. And most of them, or some of them, is being owned by the church. Then these church schools cannot be attended by the poor people, creating inequality, creating that pressure. People who want to take their children to school must do everything possible to make that money. So that is what is driving the society. And that is the problem of the church. But you just decided because this one will hurt them. You don't want to say it, but here we will say it. We will say it. I saw the Lord bishops, including those who are related to me by blood. I saw them there. So it is a general thing. Now, again, I must point it out. Soludo, you talked about another warped ideology, surrounding the Biafra agitation. You don't want to mention it. You don't want to say it is Biafra warped ideology so that people will not come after you. But here we will talk the truth. We will say it the way it is. Yes, I understand the fact that people have hidden under the ideology of Biafra for self-determination to start committing all manner of criminal activities. That is the truth. But in as much as that is the truth, you fail to recognize that it is the failure of the government that pushed those people into, such activities. Yes, I can agree with you that you were not yet in power when the issue of ban of open grazing and the rest of them was at the, when we were pushing for ban on open grazing. You are not the governor at that time. It was Obiano and the rest of other governors. Some of them still here and some of them who have gone. Because they failed to ban open grazing and, set up security to enforce the ban on open grazing. That is why non-state actors led by Nnamdi Kanu initiated ESN. And because you governors and the governors or Igbo leaders in the southeast failed to do the needful, playing politics with the lives of our people, non-state actors decided to fill the gap. Because at that time, Fulani herdsmen were ravaging everywhere, killing people everywhere, ransacking communities, destroying farmlands. You did nothing. I mean, the government did nothing in the southeast. So non-state actors, cast into that lacuna. And that was how ESN was bettered by Nnamdi Kanu. And since afterwards, all manner of creeping things, because we have carried our hands to fetch infested firewood. Every manner of creeping things is now coming to southeast, operating in the name of we are fighting against Fulanis. And that is the truth. And I can say that the motive for setting up ESN, I'm not speaking for Nnamdi Kanu, neither am I their spokesman or IPOB, but that is the truth. For the fact that these guys came out to do what the government failed to do. Now, because it is the non-state actors, uncontrolled, undocumented, boom, all manner of criminals have hijacked that process. You start hearing all manner of criminal activities, even to the point of harvesting of organs and selling them in the southeast. Nobody's now talking about Fulani herdsmen again. It is now in every community, somebody will just go and open up fire and start killing people massively. I don't know where they're heading to. Will you call that one Biafra agitation? The answer is no. Will you say that it is still the same people who want their people to be free are the ones going about killing people and massacring them? The answer is no. And will you say it is only those people you call the Fulani that are doing this killing? The answer is also no. And people must understand the truth. But for the fact that the church have failed, for the fact that the society have failed, for the fact that the government itself have failed, that's why all of these insecurities are happening. So when you are talking about all of these things, you should, hit the hammer on the head and say the truth the way it is. Everybody's afraid to say this truth, but here you will hear it raw. Now, another one that I want to also highlight before we now go to the solution is the issue of farmer high, where you talked about your initiative to increase farm and food production. I will say that is hypocritical. Telling one bar for our dear governor. Why I say it is hypocritical is because there are genuine cooperatives who are ready, who have been pushing, who have my own cooperative. Let me just start with the one that I know. GGM Cooperative. We have been saying it for God knows how long, to ignite food revolution in Igbo land, beginning with Anambra State. We've gone to the Ministry of Agriculture. We've gone to the Ministry of Land asking, can we be assisted? All we needed, we didn't say government give us money. All we needed is give us government land for lease, where it is accessible for us to invest massively in agriculture. The government did not, no single assistance came. So I want to use this opportunity to start with, plead with the governor of Anambra State, if need be, to heed to the ideology driving GGM and this platform. We are not here to pacify anybody. You may not like my face. Leave the messenger and deal with the message. You may not like the tone of my voice, but the truth must be spoken. If you want food to nyafu, beginning with Anambra State, call up GGM, call up my team and the like minds. I will tell you, in less than 2 years, food security will be guaranteed in Anambra State. I'm telling you honestly, if genuinely, because that will engage a lot of our young people into productive activities. I'm telling you. Then outside that, talking about other form of insecurity, I have made mention of it. First of all, start to, apart from constructing road here and there, try to bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Let public utilities start working. That is where and how to start fighting both insecurity and poverty and corruption. All of them. The schools, you see what Enugu State is doing with model schools. Model schools. You see that kind of school that Enugu State is doing? Start implementing such in Anambra State. It is not a rocket science. For public school, primary school and secondary school to have that class of private schools even more. Set that standard, which everyone can attend to. You will see you have dropped the pressure of money mongering by people to a large extent. I'm telling you. We have initiated, I think, the healthcare service insurance and the rest of them. Amplify it, make it accessible. Let the people understand that they can have quality healthcare service without breaking bank. And I can tell you the pressure will reduce. And that is how to start fighting corruption and insecurity, because insecurity is driven by hunger and poverty. I'm telling you. So to the church, it's up to them. They become capitalists. This preaching that you are preaching will not make great effect if you, as the governor of the state, will not champion this leadership to show the way. And that is just my own take and the position of GGM. Please, like I said, deal with the message. Leave the messenger out of it. I still remain as Uchenna Peters, the advocate for good governance, the voice in the wilderness, saying this undiluted truth without looking at anybody's face. Please help me share this video and let me have your thought on it in the comment section. Bye-bye for now. GGN, uniting the people for good governance.